We're getting started with the call for international real estate. Today we're going all the way to the other side of the world. Please get your phones ready for scanning QR codes. We're going to have some places you can go to find some information, but as well to join the community. So we have today Sam Chopra. He's the India eXp country leader. You can find more information in the Instagram from eXp Global India in case you want to follow all the announcements, everything that is coming in, and also some of the road shows that we'll be having. That we'll have with the group. Please introduce yourself in the chat, or if you're watching the recording, introduce yourself on the description as a comment, your name, where you're from, also what's your current market, and what do you want to get out of this call, because this is super important for networking. So the more people know you, the more they can reach out to you directly. And this is a whole networking group, an event, so you can get to know each other. The purpose of this call is networking, sharing knowledge from different countries, and also building the community. We're going to have some announcements at the end, events. If you have some announcements yourselves, you can bring it to the group, and you can join school for that. So you can get more information in the next slide. Who is this for? This is for all real estate agents and professionals. If you're a real estate agent anywhere around the world, you're welcome to the call. If you're a new agent, you're also welcome to the call. If you're from our community of eXp or not, you're also welcome to join. This is mostly for knowledge and sharing, so you can get more information how you can refer different markets. Again, my name is Nathaly Salas. I am just moderating these calls and coordinating with all the speakers that we have, just so we get some knowledge into the world and learning more about different countries. And I'm super excited to announce that today we have India, and our country leader from India is here. So we have the part 1 and part 2. Please stay tuned. Today, I want to cover part 1 of India as a country, and next week we're going to cover part 2, which are the comparable CMAs and also anything that has to do with the numbers. What can you get for what? Today, I want to talk about India as a country, the opportunities, the demographics, how is it growing so fast, and Sam is going to share with us more information. This is our calendar of events. If you haven't been part of these calls yet, we had last week we had Dubai. Michael was sharing more about the prices in Dubai. How does it work? What's the new developments, the new airport, where the trend is going. So before anybody else is checking, where the opportunities are in this call, they're sharing firsthand because they're there, they're seeing the market grow, and the same is going to happen right now with India. Today we have part 1, as I mentioned. Part 2 will be next week, and the week after that we have Ecuador for 2 weeks as well. If you are not part of our community, we have a school community is free. You can scan the QR code, it'll take you there, or you can also look for international real estate agents, and you'll find our group. This is the QR code, so you can join the community. It's a curated community, so we're trying to avoid spam and all that happens in the groups, and also in the WhatsApp group. If you prefer our user of WhatsApp, this is the one that you might want to join the group in there, and then you get all the notifications on the calls as they come in. With that, I'll introduce Sam, and Sam will be chatting with us more about his experience and then what it is like India as an investment location. He is the host of the Real State of Real Estate, Go Exponential with Sam. He has over 30 years of experience as a broker, franchisor, entrepreneur, and consultant. He built one of India's first and largest international real estate franchise networks, and he is the chair of IREP India, and a venture partner and India Accelerator. He's a former president of NAR India and APP, advisor to the International MLS Forum, and is known for building ecosystems that unite brokers, developers, and investors. And with that, I'll gonna share a video from Sam. He sent us this. Let's see if the sound works, but I really like the...
Can you guys hear it?
You can hear the sound? Let me make sure you guys can hear the sound, because it's the most
No,
important.
I can't hear the sound.
Yes or no?
No.
No. No.
So earlier we were sharing the sound,
It
audio.
was, we could hear it when you tested it.
Hmm. Yeah, because it was working. Maybe when we're streaming. It's always like that, right?
Fine, that time.
No?
I can hear it now. Yes, I could hear it now.
Okay, let's go. Because it's a good, really good video if you guys want to pay attention to all the stats. And
So I'm going to give you a background before you hit play.
sure.
This video is courtesy the government of India, but more importantly, I was honored by the National Association of Realtors of India, which I was a former president and a former vice chairman of, in my capacity as a member of the global committee that it has. I was seconded to go and speak at the Miami World Realtors Congress, um, on behalf of our global ambassador. His name is Tarun. So he actually asked me to go and speak there. And I had the opportunity to present this particular video, and bits and pieces of what I've portrayed, which you're going to see today, comes out from that presentation. So, I have to give credit to NAR India, of course, which eXpIndia is very much a part of. So I just wanted to put that across. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. This is a great video. I really like it.
Amazing statistics over here.
Awesome. It's like I'm in the movies. With that, I'm gonna share Sam's slides. Thank you so much for being with us, Sam. Um,
Thank you very much.
so-
I still get goosebumps when I see this video because as a proud Indian, and I'm sure You may have a few Indians also on this show of yours. As a proud Indian, when I see these numbers, I say this is absolutely phenomenal. What we've done, and I think the time for India has come. We are the third largest economy in the world, and it's important for us to reach out to people and tell them more about it. And I'm so glad a lot of you. I can see an Indian name there, Vishu. So I think he was there on my podcast yesterday. Incidentally, I had a podcast yesterday with Tom. I'm told that you're also somewhere down in his downline somewhere there, Tom Truong.
Yes, yes.
So I had the good fortune of having him on my podcast yesterday.
Amazing.
Um, so wonderful. So well, this is what I'm going to talk about. Just to give you a synopsis, I'm going to talk about firstly why make an investment in India, and who all can, of course, make investments. That's the other thing. But what are the demographics, our market size, which are the metros that the large metros and the ones that are emerging cities. What is I'll just touch briefly on various things like property purchase process, what are the financing investment options, whatever we can do in the next 40 odd minutes, um, legal aspects and property rights, taxation and investor incentives, and the economic outlook and the future trends of the country. I will also touch upon uh, commercial and luxury. Why? Because EXP in India is also going to be bringing in EXP luxury very soon. I'm hoping in Q4 of 2025 itself. And I'm hoping that we'll bring in EXP luxury next year in Q1 of 2026. So these are hopes. This is not something which is set in stone right now, but I'd like to talk a bit about commercial and luxury because of that as well. And of course, some of your audience, whether here or on YouTube, would be interested in that as well. So can we go to the next slide, please? So why India? Well, we have the largest home buyer market. 250 million new urban residents are expected to be there 2050. 250 million. That's a huge number. If you look at the countries that are participating, US probably has 300 odd, maybe 350 million or so as a population. Now this is 250 home buyers. The rising wealth creation, we expect 100 million new middle class households in the next 5 years. That's a huge number. That will itself make us the world's largest consumer market. So imagine, you know, every consumer brand worth its while would want to come into India because of that. Um, Internet, 900 million, short of a billion internet users. And we're high on prop tech. We're high on e-commerce. We're high on quick commerce. We're high on digital payments. Not only do we have digital payments today, a street vendor, and in India, you step out and you'll have somebody just selling. They only have a small little basket with 5 kilos of, say, apples, and that is, they will sell that during the day and then go back home. That's all they'll be doing. But that guy also has digital payments. He has what we call here a Paytm or a UPI, and there is a QR code in that, and you click that and the money goes to his account. So unfortunately we also have people on the street who are homeless, begging for alms. Even they have QR codes. Hotels have security or usherers, and you need to tip them at times, or the concierge service, even they have a QR code and you can tip them. So you can't say, I don't have change. Gone are those days. You don't have change, you have some money in the bank, pay us. Now that's the importance. And when you talk about prop tech, I myself represent an organization called India Accelerator. I'm a venture partner and I specialize on analyzing property technology, infra tech, prop tech, build tech, and I identify companies and which they should invest in. So huge business opportunities available in India, smart homes, sustainability. So that is what India is now all about. High tech, Internet of Things. I can, of course, you can open your garage from anywhere. You can put on your music from anywhere in the world. But that's what India is doing. So while we have disparity in terms of income, but our middle class and the ultra high net worth, both of them are carrying people up, and hopefully the masses from the villages, as they move and urbanize, they're also adapting because of technology, because of internet, because of digital payments. They're all adapting to change, and you're seeing these changes happen. And as you see, we have the largest road network as an example. We're building a few hundred kilometers of roads every day. So that's the strength in India. Next slide, please. So, what is the future growth engine of real estate in India? 6.5 billion in institutional real estate investment in 2024. Sorry, I'm going to get a bad throat by the end of this day. And I'm a little passionate about what I do. And I was telling Nathaly before this call started that since 4 o'clock last night till about 9 at night, when I finished my podcast. And then today, this morning, from 9 in the morning, I had a road show in Hyderabad. I'm in Hyderabad till now and speaking till 9 o'clock. I'm going to be 12 and 5 hours. It's about 17 hours of literally screaming my head out. And I love talking loudly because I am passionate about it. That's my way of putting it. So 6.5 billion in institutional real estate investment in 2024. That is, as we say, second only to China in the Asia Pacific. So really growing fast. Sustainability. I spoke about sustainability. We're looking at a net zero by 2070, and we are extremely ESG compliant. In fact, some of the buildings that are coming up in India, like there is the Munjal Group, or the Hero Group, as we call them in India. They're the largest manufacturers of two-wheelers in the world. They're setting up the world's most compliant net zero building in the city of Delhi, the city that I belong to. So great push there. Urban infrastructure development, massive government push in terms of airports, roads, like I mentioned, industrial corridors, smart cities. We've got, zillions of smart cities coming up thanks to the pursuit of the government to bring that. And we have warehousing. I saw somebody say something about warehousing, but we got warehousing, logistics. We've got, I'm in Hyderabad. Hyderabad is all about labs, as an example. The COVID vaccine. Pune and Hyderabad, other cities where you've got massive lab units, IT, technology, all that happening. We have data centers, huge amount of data centers coming up. And this is probably going to be the data center capital at some point of time of the world. Next slide, please. So why is it attractive to invest in India? First and foremost, we've set up a very regulated, transparent position in terms of purchasing, in terms of developing. So all the stakeholders, whether they're real estate developers, whether they are buyers, or they are the brokers, the agents, the intermediaries, all three of them are regulated by the Real Estate Regulatory Act. We are one of the first countries in Asia, and probably, I think UAE is one country that adapted it and adopted RERA, or the Real Estate Regulatory Act, before us, probably. Other than that, in Asia, I think we're number one. US, of course, I know has RERA. I know when I say RERA, you have a regulatory act. Um, and it is a state subject in India. So we have a central act and a state act. And each state is enforcing it. Baby steps. We started with licensing of agents, as an example. Then we've come to skilling of agents. Now we've come to certification of agents. And over a period of time, there's going to be even qualification in terms of passing exams and getting a qualification, which is not just a certificate, but it's a degree that you will reach over a period of time. The MLS is still not in India, but I know that the National Association of Realtors and also a lot of large players are looking at bringing in an international MLS into India. In fact, I'm on the advisory board of the international MLS. Uh, we should be in Toronto a few weeks from now for the IMLS forum, and I'm speaking there as well. And of course, I'm part of the awards and selection committee on that. But besides RERA, tax reforms. Just yesterday, the government of India, first we set up a value added tax service, which is the goods and service tax. But now what's happened is we have we had huge high taxes there. People were complaining 5%, 12%, 18%, 25%, and 40%. And it was crazy. One thing was taxed at one level, the other at another level. Now the taxes have been unified, and there's only 5% and 18%. And mostly things are at 5, 18 are some luxury. And then there's sin tax, SIN, sin, as the seven deadly sins or the eighth deadly sin. And this sin is really what? It's about, things like alcohol, uber luxury stuff, things which you may or may not need, or something which is bad for your health. Carbonated drinks of all, fruit juices which are carbonated. So the government's saying, hey, you know what? Be conscious of what you're doing. It's like saying if you don't wear a helmet and you go on a two-wheeler, or you don't wear a seat belt in a car, we're going to fine you. Now that fine is, I mean, it's justified because if you can't look after your safety, the government's not supposed to do it. They can't imprison you for that. So at least they can put a $100 fine and say, be careful in future. Remember that you'll be penalized. And that's what's happened. There's a sin tax at 40%, but minimal items, otherwise 5 and 18%. And this is input tax credit. There's a possibility of getting input tax credit, so you get the money back, but it's a good chain to set up. And of course, then foreign direct investment has started flowing into commercial real estate in a big way. We'll talk about that in the future during the course of this presentation itself. Next, please. I'm just trying to see the time, 30 minutes. The key drivers. Now, of course, technology, IT, e-commerce, quick commerce, manufacturing sector, all these are the ones which are driving real estate demand. The expanding middle class is also building the housing demand. The growing population, the aging population, of course, is there. But remember, I said, we've got a huge middle age, under 40 population, and that needs new homes. Every time a child is born, you need a new house. And with our birth rate still, moving in a positive direction, the demand for residential housing is ever increasing. And then the non-resident Indians or the persons of Indian origin are investing back into India. Now, I have to tell you some great news. I have a colleague of mine over here, and I'm going to eventually tell him to put his video on. Maybe I'll tell him to do it right now for a second. Iris, I can see that you're there. If you're there and if it's suitable, put the video on for a second. Okay, maybe, yeah, there you are.
Hi there.
That's Iris Dikuna. I'm very proud to say, of course, I've known for the last 10 odd years, and it's lovely to see you on the podcast, Nathaly's podcast. And I just want to tell you that Iris has been, for the last 10 years, or probably more, a friend. He's by the way, he's a person of Indian origin, stays in New York, but he has been a friend of the National Association of Realtors of India and of India as a whole because of his role at NAR Global. He's the global ambassador there for India, Thailand, and Myanmar. And very recently, from 1st of September, literally, Iris is taken over at eXp. He's also an eXp agent, by the way. And Iris is taken over as the president of the NRI Global Council that eXp has set up. So NRIs, which is the persons of Indian origin, essentially, at eXp, what we've done is we've set up country ambassadors. So there's a US country ambassador, a Canada one, a UK, South Africa, UAE, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Malaysia, etc. We're setting up eXp global ambassadors. He is the global ambassador to the US on behalf of eXp India. And each country ambassador has come together and we set up an NRI council. And of course, he's the president of that. The crazy thing is that because of that, we are able to set up city ambassadors in every country, in every city. So every city in the US, maybe 40 or 60 of them, is going to have an eXp NRI city ambassador who's going to work and help us do cross-border referrals and exchanges between Indians on both sides of the pond. So that's the beauty. So thank you, Iris. I just wanted to call you out and show your face to a name to everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks a lot. We are going to go through a very, very exciting times, and Sam's the guy. I mean, it's going to be exciting times for us.
And by the way, Nathaly is going to be helping us in the Chicago event. So I'm going to have both of you speak to each other. But at a later point, I don't want to steal the show. But Nathaly,
no. Sure.
And you guys will have this conversation for the Chicago event that we're talking about. So I'll connect you guys eventually.
Sure.
Thanks very much. Go to the next slide. Thanks. Population. I mean, there was a time we were reeling. We were the second largest population in the world, but now we're the largest. 1.5 billion people. 1.5 billion. Can you imagine the number? And 70% of the population is under 40. So if you're under 40, I mean, I'm an old man. I'm 50% higher than that. I'm 60. So if you're a 40-year-old guy or under 40, can you imagine if you're in your 30s, what all you can do? You want to buy new homes, you use the credit card, everything that the US did 20 years ago. Hopefully not the global financial crisis, but other than that, apart from that, everything else is what we want to do. I hope we learn from that because, at times I get shudders because I was, by the way, in the mortgage business at that point of time. I just pulled out 3 months before the GFC, so I know all about that. But rapid urban migration, anybody and his cousin is moving to the metros and the tier 2 cities. So, all the rural population is moving. Of course, there's good and bad to it, but nevertheless, the truth is the agrarian society is getting depleted. And over a period of time, apart from, being able to produce through genetic, through GM modes, etc., there'll be a loss of manpower from the agrarian side because they'll move to tier 2 cities and then to the metros. Then, of course, the rising middle class affluence. People, as they're growing, they're all upwardly mobile. They're hungry to grow. They're hungry to earn larger homes, lifestyle upgrades, ready to move inventory. all of that is taking place because people now have more disposable income at their end. Loans and mortgages are cheaper, easier to obtain. You have a credit rating system. Banks are more friendly. They're more comfortable to lend. So the whole ecosystem is changing. Next, please. Well, the real estate market is projected to go over $1 trillion. For the US, it may not be a lot, but for India, it's hell of a lot. $1 trillion by 2030. That's huge. And it will contribute 15% of our gross domestic product and create over 100 million jobs. So remember, the total population, 1.5 billion, 100 million jobs, actual jobs are coming through the real estate sector. Growth is driven, like I mentioned earlier, by urbanization, infrastructure, middle class demand. We've spoken about that. There's a lot of foreign direct investment coming in. The high growth segments are, of course, warehousing. We spoke about that. Data centers, we spoke about that. And, of course, retail real estate, because retail real estate is moving up because of the people moving to the tier 2 cities, the metros. And because of this movement, people get more upwardly mobile. They're getting more income. They have they get credit on everything that they buy, and as a result, and there's quick commerce, there's e-commerce, there's reasons for you to spend now. And you see, you open your phone, you have Instagram, you have Facebook. Everything's leading to you to buy more stuff, look at more stuff. So there's more inherent greed and desire to become bigger and better and to acquire more things, which maybe not so good, but that's what's happening. Yeah, let's go to the next one. So the buyer segments are multiple, but give me a second. But really, the affordable housing for the middle class. And when I say affordable housing, I'm not talking about absolutely lower income. I'm talking about the middle class, the middle income group. They need affordable housing because the prices are going through the roof because of the demand and supply mismatch. And the necessity grows amid this urbanization because the shift, the transition to cities is what is building that demand. So normally the demand wouldn't be there because what is happening is the rural real estate is sort of imploding because nobody's using that. Prices are stable, static, they're not going up unless there's new projects coming up. But then, organizations, companies like General Electric is an example. When they came to India and they outsourced and moved jobs from the US into India or from across the world into India, what did they do? They first came into the large cities because they were cheap. Labor was cheap. Then they said, hey, you know what? It's more expensive. Let's go to the outskirts. So they moved to the outskirts of the city. And then commuting was a little difficult, but they chose metros, where the subways, the trains could actually reach. But then now they said, hey, you know what? This also doesn't work. Let's go to tier 2 cities because there's more talent, there's more infrastructure, and we'll use that. And those are the guys now, and those in pharmaceutical industry and other industries or warehouses, which are going to drive demand in the rural area at some point of time. Maybe not in the very near future, but maybe in a 10-year period, that's what's going to happen because the prices go up, they heat up, and you got to go to a place where the price is really low. Then the luxury demand. You'd be surprised that in India, somebody who's from India tell me, one of the largest deals, and I can say it here because, this is a closed user group. The largest deal that happened in India of a real estate apartment by the most prominent and largest developer of the country. It was on a golf course in the city of Gurgaon, which is part of the Delhi National Capital Region, was sold by an eXp agent. But the point is, what is the price? It was almost $15 million for an apartment on a golf course. If this is Miami, I'd still say, hey, that's a lot of money for an apartment. New York, that's a lot of money for an apartment. You know, maybe it's in London or Hyde Park, or maybe it's in Central Park, overlooking Central Park in New York. I can understand. But $15 million in Gurgaon, and by the way, there are a lot of memes which you'll see where there's water flooding about a mile away from there, all across, but $15 million, that's the price. So high net worth individuals are buying properties because what's happened is startups is an example. We've got some crazy founders with a lot of wealth because they've started companies, high-tech companies, which have done really well. And then they have so much money, they don't know what to do with it. And those are the guys that we're tapping at eXp in India and saying, hey, you know what? Let's try and help you get a better property. So the guy who bought the property had an option of buying a 50,000 square foot home in the city, or I think it was 11 or 12,000 square foot apartment on the golf course. He took the apartment, so that you know. The third, senior living. Now we're representing a company called Max, or a group called Max, which has a project called Antara, which does senior living. It's amazing. When you see the property, it looks like a 7-star superstar resort property for senior living. Now, as Indians become expats, they move out of India, they leave their parents' home, or the parents don't want to go and stay with the kids because they've stayed in India for 60 years and more. And they don't want to go to another country and adapt to their culture. They're not going to be able to drive there. Language, they still may know, but they may not be as comfortable. They won't have their friends and family there. So what do? Where do they stay beyond a point? So senior livings come up very big way. Then students, IT professionals, all these guys, they've got properties back home. They don't want to invest in properties in a new city, satellite city to work. So co-living sector has also come up. Next one, please. So the future of real estate in India, luxury real estate, this is something I saw a video. I actually stole this from somebody. I saw a video, loved it, and I told my team, I said, you know what, just pull some bullets out of it. But look at it this way. Luxury is not about space anymore. I've got 10,000 square feet, 5,000 square feet. This is what I learned from this guy. Luxury is not about all the opulence that you get inside the house. Luxury is about what you have outside the house. If the property is high density, but it's on a beachfront, you get the fresh breeze, or it's high density in terms of a lot of greenery around it, or you have a lot of playgrounds for children, you have sports activities, you have a great club. Those are the things that people are looking at: greenery, open spaces. This is not about what you're doing inside the house, and not about the size, essentially, because you need also communities. I could have a really large house, but how many people can afford it? And do I want to, as I grow older, stay in a large house, or around people, surrounded by people which are like-minded? So maybe if I'm a high net worth individual, I'll go and pick up 5,000 or 10,000 square feet or 8,000 square feet homes, and the whole apartment complex, the whole condo is going to be with these 5 or 8,000 square feet homes. My clubhouse will be large, my play area, my car parking, my automation, my business center over there, all that is big, but we are all of the same size. I don't want a 50,000 square foot penthouse because I'm the only guy. The snob value doesn't work over a period of time, especially with the people around you. So I found this really good, but build green communities and a lifestyle shift, because luxury is increasingly about harmony with nature, wellness, and sustainability, and not material opulence. I think this is a great statement, and probably pivotal in terms of the luxury market. Next one, please. Okay. Which are the key metros in the country? I had, by the way, not the previous, yesterday was Tom, like I mentioned, but the week before I had our other friend, Jason, on my podcast. And I was amazed that he could rattle off about 8, 9 city names just like that. And he didn't have a cheat sheet with him. So it was amazing. But I'm going to give you some names as well. Mumbai, look at the size of the population, 22 million. Those are sizes of some of the countries that you might have in your downline, Nathaly. 22 million people. Delhi, the national capital region, 34 million people, 35 almost. Bangalore, 14 million. Hyderabad, where I'm sitting right now, 7.5 million. Those are the sizes of the metros in India. So highly dense, not very large in size, but highly dense. And yet they have a lot of real estate infrastructure, not necessarily high rise. Also, some slums, unfortunately, and you would have seen Slumdog Millionaire, so you know what those are about. But great infrastructure coming up. The beauty is that because you come in later and you have better technology, you make better properties. And as we pick up green belts, sustain those green belts and build around them, we're building more structured infrastructure. The emerging cities. So I'll give you a little bit about these cities. Mumbai is the financial capital of India. Delhi is the capital of the world. Sorry, capital of India, but I consider it the capital of the world. Bangalore is the tech capital of India. Hyderabad is probably biting on its heels as a tech capital again. Pune, again, with its proximity to Mumbai. Pune is the one in the emerging cities. Jaipur, Kochi, which is in the south, Lucknow, Coimbatore. These are all affordable, yet moving into either technology or textiles or travel and tourism. One of the 3 T's they're working on. Goa, Kerala is Kochi itself, Himachal, Uttarakhand, and Rajasthan. They're into either pilgrimage, tourism, vacation homes, beaches, and all of that. So those are the kind of markets that we have within the country. Next one, please. The property purchase process is fairly simple in India. Research, you do a basic initial search, then you do a discovery of a property. So the property search, you do an offer and a negotiation, which is standard. You do a due diligence on the title, get encumbrance certificates, etc. And then finally, it's a closing. Very simple, 5 ways to close the entire thing. More about this as we go ahead. Let's go to the next slide. The government support. The government is actually very, very real estate friendly. Building the infrastructure, wanting, one of our chief ministers, a top man. So each minister at the for housing and development, we call it housing and urban development. And we have a central minister and a state minister in every central government representation. So these guys have always been high profile ministers and high profile individuals or members of parliament who are brought in as ministers. So, and that's where the focus is there. Currently, one of our most affluent and fastest growing states is Haryana. So the chief minister of Haryana was moved to come in as, because he did a great job in that state, that he was moved to become the minister the Central Minister for Housing and Urban Development. We have a lot of government benefits. There's a subsidy for first-time buyers called Pradhan Mantri, means Prime Minister. Avas, I don't know what Avas is. Probably my other colleagues can tell me, but Avas Yojana. So it's a scheme. The Prime Minister has this, let's say, a progression scheme or whatever, progressive scheme. So he gives you subsidized interest. I spoke about the goods and services tax, which is like VAT. It's only 1% if you're buying an affordable home and 5% on regular residential units. I spoke about the Real Estate Regulatory Act. I spoke about the Smart Cities Mission, 30 billion invested to modernize 100 cities. So we're looking at cities and saying, how do we make them smarter? Power, water, that means electricity, water, roads, cleanliness. We have standards where we are awarding the cleanest city in the country as an example. And we rank them as the top 50. So there's hygiene, education, all of that coming in, community, all of that coming in these smart cities. Then, as per JLL, I hate taking another company's name in the real estate industry, but as per their global index, we rank amongst the top 10 globally for real estate transparency. So that's what India is all about. Next, please. So financing, like I said, the financing is becoming a lot easier because we have credit rating agencies. Banks are also comfortable spending money. And while we have a very high interest rate across board, the interest rates are more or less getting softer as we go along. Banks cover 75 to 90% of the property value, and they give you loans up to 30 to 35%. Sorry, 30 to 35 years. So, but of course, there's an upper limit. They probably give it to you till you're 65 years old or 70 years old because they don't do the Nina and Ninja that you guys did during the global financial crisis. I'm sure you guys know what Nina and Ninja was in the US. Nina was no income, no asset, and Ninja was no income, no jobs, and no assets. And you lent money. So I said, I hope my fellow countrymen in India don't do the same thing, but we still keep a healthy margin of 10 to 25% of the property value. And we don't lend to people over the age of 65 because we expect them not to be having a flowing income, which is not coming from a investment through mutual funds or through fixed deposits, etc., or a rental. And we say, okay, we will give you a mortgage, but up to the age of 65 or 30 years, whichever is lesser. Rates are about 8 to 9%. They have been down to about 7.5% also, but post-COVID, they haven't gone back. Tax benefits, there are some tax breaks, 200,000 rupees, which is only $2,400, but that on the interest, and about $1,800 on the principal. You get some tax rebates from the government. Disbursement is done stage-wise and lump sum for ready units. So if it's a construction-linked plan, then the banks don't give you the whole money up front, because then what can happen is you could be a proxy or a ghost borrower on behalf of the developer himself, because you could be doing a tripping. On the other hand, what they say is, we will fund you, but we will fund you as a construction linked plan. Or if it's a ready unit, of course, then they will give you the whole money up front, because you've got to buy the property, and the seller's not going to wait till eternity for the money. They'll want the money there and then. Market potential for loans for mortgages is immense, because it's 11% of GDP versus 50% plus in the developed markets. So there's a huge gap between 11% and 50%. We believe there's a huge potential and room for growth in India. The next one, please. Okay.
And Sam, we have time, so no rush.
Okay. I was just looking. It says 1 hour, 24 minutes. Have I spoken that much?
No, we had
It's
before.
9 o'clock, almost 9. Okay. I'll still do it as fast because I'm sure they'll have questions. I see about a lot of questions here and there. So I'll wait for the questions also at that point of time. Yeah. So non-resident Indians, persons of Indian origin, OCIs, overseas citizens of India, essentially, can buy residential and commercial property, but they cannot, that means you're not really an Indian, you're barred from agriculture and plantation land because that becomes hardcore. We don't want them to come in and pick up large tracts of land for that. There are ways out of everything in life, including in India, but that's what the law says. Repatriation, you can, the sale proceeds of up to 2 of your dwelling units, you can repatriate the money out. Foreign direct investments are permitted in construction development, which means you could be anybody. You could be a corporate entity. If you set up a township or a economic zone or something large commercial, then 100% FDI, foreign direct investment, is permitted. I mentioned this earlier, the non-resident Indians have put in about 15 billion in 2023. And of course, the largest non-resident Indian community that puts in money into India is either from the UAE or the US, UK, or Singapore. Next one, please. Okay, so the legal framework. There is the Real Estate Regulatory Act that I spoke about. That makes it mandatory for new projects to put money in the escrow, construct on a particular time scale, and gives full buyer protection. There's complete transparency because of that. And gone are the days, because there were such days, where developers could rob Paul to pay Peter. There's no Paul or Peter here, but essentially that's what they would do. Now it's stopped because of the strict laws that have come into place. You can't misuse of funds. You can't take money for a project and then siphon it out to buy land for another project and keep hoping that the prices will keep going up. Around the same time as the GFC, global financial crisis, India went through something like that. A lot of developers were put behind bars and a lot of things like that happened. But that has stopped now because of the Real Estate Regulatory Act. Next, please. The legal documents that we need, a lot of it is still hard paper, but most of the documents are now getting digitized. And even old deeds, title deeds, which are 20 years old, 50 years old, all those are getting digitized. Sorry, I just got a call and something happened to my screen. I've gone to the first. Can you guys hear me? You can, right?
Now we're in legal documents.
Oh, there, I'm back. Yeah. Yeah, I just shifted because of a call. So the legal documents are title deed verification. So you have a title deed, the verification of that gives you the confirmation who's the owner, what are his rights, what are the terms and conditions on the property. Encumbrance certificate ensures that there's no pending loans, liabilities, etc. Nobody's put a case against you, and so on and so forth. Then there are 2 parts to the sale transaction. One is an agreement to sell, an ATS, which means that, hey, you know what, I'm ready to buy a property. And the second is actually consummating it through a sale deed. Then there is, of course, property tax receipts, because you want to make sure that there is nothing overdue on property taxes, municipal taxes, and other taxes. So you you share those receipts. Then there are approved building plans and the OC, the occupancy certificate, and also the possession certificate that the developer has to bring and share with the buyer in a ready to move in apartment. That, you know what, I've got approved building plans, I got an occupancy certificate from the government, and of course the possession certificate. And because of all of this, you can walk into the premises and start using it. And every developer needs to get a real estate regulatory certificate. He needs to say by when he will build the property. And if it gets extended, there's a problem. He needs to go back and get an extension. And anyway, it doesn't go beyond a 3-year period. If it goes beyond, he has to go back and get it renewed. And he has to pay money for that as well. So that's pretty much what it is. Next. So ownership and property rights. There are 3 kinds of ownership. There is, of course, a freehold. I'm sure you know what freehold is, full ownership of land and property. You can inherit it, you can transfer it, do what you want. If it's leasehold, the leasehold one is tenured for a particular period, and that's called the period of the lease. It could be 30 in India, 30 years or 99 years. 99 years normally is treated as perpetual, and that is normally after 99 years re-extended with a small fee. Then there's title insurance, and then of course there are buyer's rights. Buyer has a right to get a clear title, timely possession, etc. And if he doesn't get it, there's refund, compensation for delays, and access to all project details. He has the ability to call for all records from the construction company or the developer. Next, please. So what are the taxes that we have? There is something called the transaction tax. When you buy a property, you pay stamp duty and registration. You pay a tax at source to the government. And if it's an under construction property, then you also pay the goods and services tax that I spoke about. It's 5% for standard units, and for affordable homes, it is 1%. That's the one-time tax. The second is the annual tax. The annual tax, which you pay on a yearly basis, is to the municipal government. You pay a property tax and it is based on the size of the property, the location of the property, and what you're using for commercial, residential, what's the size, and of course, is it in a commercial or a residential or a mixed land use zone. Then, if you put it on rent, there's a tax that you pay, which is called the income from house property, where 30% of there's a flat deduction of 30% for maintenance, and then the rest of it is added to your taxable income, and which is 30% of maintenance is high, so you get that benefit basically as a subsidy. The third, so one is at the time of purchase, the second is constant on a yearly basis, and the third is at the time of exit or sale. At that point of time, when you sell, you have an opportunity of a short-term, long-term tax, or you can get an exemption if you take that property, the gains from the property, and reinvest it into another property. This is a whole session and we can do it some other time, but that's the kind of taxes we have. Next one, please. What are the tax benefits? If you have a capital gain and if you invest it in another residential property, you get a benefit. There are certain benefits, like I mentioned earlier, deduction of $150,000, that is $1,800 or $2,400, depending on whether it's a home loan principal or a home loan interest. The government also gives some subsidies for first-time users. It's just a capsule of that. Non-residents get some investment benefits. If they repatriate, they can get 2 properties worth of sales proceeds out. There is a DTA with many countries, which is DTA means double tax avoidance agreement. So that treaty gives the benefit to non-resident Indians in countries with the ones where we have bilateral trade. Institutional investors gaining tax efficient structures in REITs. So REITs have come up in a big way in India. The real estate investment trusts, and there is now something called SM REIT, which is small and medium REIT. So you start getting some tax efficiency as an institutional investor when you come through REIT. And the good thing about REIT is that you can invest into, for example, we have a place called the Gift City, which is, I think, I don't remember the full form, but I think it's Gujarat Investment and Finance, whatever, trade zone or whatever it is, but GIFT. Now, GIFT essentially is like a special economic zone. It is like, it's like the embassy in your embassy in another country. So the rules don't apply to that, right? So the same way a special economic zone is similar, you can make an investment into the SEZ. You can set up a fund, and an institutional investor can put in money there and then choose to invest it into India in various projects and get the benefits that India has of high ROI and high returns. Okay. Next, please. Well, real estate is expected to grow 5x by 2030, acting as an employment driver. Affordable homes, I mentioned, along with warehousing, etc. Huge boom. Logistics, huge boom. Luxury properties are, in high demand in the top cities of Mumbai, Delhi, and Goa. Sorry, Mumbai, Delhi, and Bangalore, and Goa because of its beaches. A lot of non-resident Indians. So if you have clients who are of Indian origin, ask them about India, and they would love to buy properties over there or over here. We spoke about smart cities, prop tech. This is a capsule shaping real estate with a growing demand for co-living and senior housing, which we spoke about again. Global investors' confidence is an all-time high in India, and with uncertainties in different parts of the world, we have a lot of Indians wanting to build a safety net in India. The PIOs, the persons of Indian origin, OCIs, or the non-resident Indians, all these guys want to invest back and just keep a back comfort home in India, safety net in India. So that's extremely important, and those are the guys you should tap actually. Next one, please. Well, we're at the end of our session. This is a sneak peek into our next session, real estate financing beyond borders. We're going to tell you about the market specifically, the kind of products. You can see the products, they're phenomenal. We'll talk about a few products and give you more details, but we'll keep it for next time. Back to you, Nathaly. I hope I was fast enough. I was literally catching a plane, running a train. I don't know what I was doing, but
Yeah, no, this is amazing. It was great information. I'm gonna open up for questions for those who are still here. Let me stop sharing, and then I can get everybody back into the camera. Cool, cool. Thank you, Sam, for all this information. I feel like I learned so much. I was like taking notes. And there's a lot of terms also that maybe people have questions about. I think NRI, and then there's a few others. But I think one of the questions here, and my personal question is like, if you're not from Indian origin, can you still invest in India through, like you said, maybe through the commercial space, and how does it work?
yeah, through commercial, through investment institutions, through REITs, through funds, through trusts, or through corporates as well. But direct investment as an individual, you can't in today's time. You can partner with a non-resident Indian and invest, have a trust, have a company, have a partnership, pretty much like in a lot of Asia, really.
Okay,
But that is where we are.
awesome. And anybody who wants to open their mic, you can now, or I can read the questions in the chat. There was another one. I think one of them had to do with Perfect. So there was a question.
I think this is Ayush, of course. Ayush from my team is saying there's a single link where you can find everything on our social media and ways to connect with Sam. Ah, yes. So he's given you my
Link.
Linktree QR code. You can actually just click on that and connect with me on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and it also has my email ID. So feel free to call me, text me, message me, or just follow me and definitely join me on my podcast as well. I'll steal a couple of guys. I won't steal them. I'll just add them to mine as well. They'll still, I know, be sticky with Nathaly's, but it's good to have a couple of you guys come over on my podcast as well. And by the way, Nathaly is doing a podcast with us. You forgot, we've got to tell everybody, Nathaly. You're with us on the 11th, right?
Yeah.
So I have to announce this to all of you. Nathaly is going to be on the real state of real estate, Go Exponential with Sam and Nathaly. It's going to be on the 11th of September. Please join us and hear her speak about various things. We will share the topic and details with you in due course. And don't forget it. It's every Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m. India time, which really meant it's exactly 1 hour before when we started today. So whichever zone you're in, prepone it by 1 day and 1 hour. So this is Thursday, so make it Wednesday, and you started at 8 p.m. India, but you will start next week at 7 p.m. India for my event. So I'm looking forward to having Nathaly on my podcast as well.
No, thank you. Thanks for the invite, and for everybody here that I want to connect with Sam. You have the information there. We'll have the link in the description to reach out to you directly, because now with a country leader here, you can have access to any questions, co-sponsoring opportunities. If you have somebody that you're not from India right now, but you have an agent interested, you can also reach out to Sam to see how they can support them better locally as well, right?
Yeah, and I've just been reprimanded by my team that it's not the 11th, it is the 10th. So I'm sorry for that. So it is on the 10th of September. And I will be, I'll be delighted to. So we are speaking again on the 10th and the 11th, by the way. On the 10th, Nathaly is on my show. And on the 11th, I'm back again with you guys on her show for the second segment. So I'm happy to be speaking both on the 10th and 11th, with you guys. Incidentally, on the 10th, I'm going to be in Pune. So also, if I may take a minute, I want to tell you that we are doing road shows across the UK, Canada, and the US in September, October, and November. What we're doing is we're carrying a lot of carrying a lot of Indian developers to these countries and then going forward into other countries. And we're looking for people who either have a lot of Indian clients or can get a lot of Indian clients to come for an event. So the developer is going to take preferably an Indian restaurant, as he'll book that place, and we will invite a lot of people from that we know, but we will expect you and request you to invite a lot of people to come and attend it. Those people should be essentially prospective customers that you've pre-filtered, and meet those guys, talk about the product, meet the developer. The developer will talk about the product and things will go. So if it's the US, we have Iris running it. If you go to Canada, we have a gentleman by the name of Vinod who's running it from Toronto, and different people in different countries. So I just thought I'll put this across to you. And if you come there and we come to your city, it'll be an opportunity to meet you. But we'll talk a lot about it when Nathaly's on my show. I don't want to steal that thunder of hers right now. Yeah.
No, this is perfect, because we're planning probably a roadshow in Chicago as well in October. So if you're in the area, please do reach out. And for sure, thank you. No, thank you so much for all the information today. I'm sure there are going to be more questions for next week. If you want to tune next week, we'll have the comparables and all the projects that I saw when I was in India firsthand. And it's amazing the luxury that you guys have there, and the prices are really reasonable. So if maybe if you're foreign, you cannot buy directly, but there's ways around it. So there is no.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we have somebody on La Donna Logan B EXP commercial who says, I'm partnered with a team out of Mumbai. This is all exciting. I have to run, but please feel free to connect with me. So maybe Nathaly, you can connect us with her, and I guess let's see if we can do anything and help her in any way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And
Wonderful.
I think that's I have a couple questions. We can add them to the next presentation. For now, I'll
Okay. Yeah.
record